Welcome to the Porn Reboot podcast, where you get practical tips to gaining control over your porn or sex addiction. We help ambitious men end their out-of-control sexual behavior with pornography, sex, and masturbation so that you can maximize your life, perform at your potential, and remain in control in the driver's seat, which is where you have to be in order to gain or maintain the success you want in life. I'm your host, J.K. Emezi, certified sex and porn addiction recovery coach. Welcome to the episode. Today we're going to talk about the importance of discretion in ending an out-of-control behavior with pornography. And I want to be direct about who this episode is for, and also who the Porn Reboot program is for and who it isn't for. Some men who have been conditioned to, when you're growing and you're growing in a group, whether it's through religious methodologies or self-improvements, if you prefer public confession, like you've been conditioned to like confess things publicly, to get lots of group validation, that sort of stuff that's very staged. I'm not saying it's fake, I'm just saying it's staged. It requires a group of people to put pressure on you, or you need to be part of an organization like a religious group or a men's group or that sort of thing. And you grow best from being in those group situations. This is not for you. We have groups. Groups are powerful, but our programs are not designed. Our groups are not designed in that way. But the programs that I just talked about, the public confession, the sitting in groups, the opening up, again, we do some of those things. Those are designed for a specific type of man, and they serve a real purpose. Porn Reboot is not that. This is because if you are a high-level man, you have zero desire to broadcast your growth. I'll say it again. If you are a high-level man, anybody who is highly successful does not broadcast their growth. If you watch sports, NFL, NBA, whatever, you will not see any of the top players broadcasting how much their brain has changed, or what they've been doing, or the identity shift that has happened. They just show up to the court or the field, and they handle business, and you will see it demonstrated. But while they are changing their brains, while they're fixing themselves, it is very quiet. It is their preference. It is the same sort of, I call it operational discipline, that they bring to every other strategic decision in their life that has big consequences. The men in our program, the most successful, and when I say successful, I mean they're successful financially, they're successful with their families, they're just studs all around. It is almost impossible to get a testimonial out of them. Like, they'll give a testimonial, but it is going to be an internal testimonial. You are not going to hear their testimonial here on this podcast. They will say, I will do it, JK, and I want to do it, but I want it to stay inside the group. That's it, man. I want it to be in the group. I don't want it anywhere else. So here is the misconception that keeps men with a certain type of reputation and who operate at a certain level stuck longer than anyone else. The belief that addressing this problem requires you to expose yourself. Let me make it clear, it doesn't. Exposure is only one model for quote-unquote recovery, and it is not the only one. It is not even the most effective one for men who are running like a board of companies, families, who have public standing. If you have this reputation you've built, the reputational infrastructure that you built for years, if it can be damaged in a single conversation, then you do not need a model of recovery that requires exposure. Discretion is not only a preference for you, it is a non-negotiable. As a matter of fact, discretion can sometimes be a constraint for you. But I want you to know in this episode that you can do all the work without that constraint. You can rewire your brain privately. All those loops that you have in your brain of your behavior, they can be interrupted, they can be eliminated without the need for disclosure. I keep saying that your wife or your partner is not your accountability partner. Yet on the other side, there's this entire belief that you must tell your wife everything before you get started. And I will die on the hill of saying that that is unnecessary. I do believe your partner needs to know that you're doing the work or that you have done the work when the work is done, but I do not believe that she needs to know every fucking thing that you've done. All of these things likely happened before she was in your life. And so if you are dealing with the pressure of like, oh my God, I feel like the only way for me to recover is to tell everything. And it's just like, you're going to retreat. You are not going to give whatever that program is 100%. Why? Because deep down, it is conflicting with your values of what makes you successful. You can restore your self-command fully without a single person in your professional or personal network knowing that the work was done. And I know this for a fact because I've worked with thousands of men privately who have done so. It does require something that a man who has a reputation is, you might hesitate a little bit to provide it. And I struggle with this too. Immediate action on changing your environment. And that is where high-level successful individuals struggle. Because what I'm talking about is not gradually reducing things in your environment. I'm saying if you were to work with me, the first call after you've committed, I would start implementing changes in your environment that make your behavior difficult to engage in. And you will have a problem with that because you are used to tightly controlling your environment. And that is probably the most challenging thing. Because if you do not respect your therapist or coach, or if you do not view your therapist or coach as somebody that is successful, you're not going to fucking do what they tell you. So when they show up and they say, you got to change this, you got to change this, you got to change it, you're looking at them going like, I'm sorry, do you make 7 figures a year? Or do you make 6 figures? You really think I can just fucking change all of those things? Do you understand what the consequence is? Obviously, you need somebody who understands what the consequences are. I do, in most cases. But the hesitation to make those changes in your environment is where most men who have a reputation stall in their reboots. See, your behavior has been providing relief from a very specific type of pressure. And it's the pressure that comes with operating at a high level, being a high level operator. And removing that relief, my brother, it's going to feel like a threat. It's a threat that's kind of challenging to talk about, like to anybody who hasn't carried that weight before. I understand it. I've lived with it. All the men that I work with right now carry it. I work with A players in my organization and they carry that weight every single day. We have our company meetings, we have our huddles, everything. They're carrying that same weight. And that is exactly why the reboot system, the approach we take, is built the way it is. It is not built around, the story, the narrative. It's not built around exposing yourself. Again, that is I'm not knocking religion. That is built around a very religious, performative methodology that was injected into scientific therapeutic methodologies because the addiction, quote unquote, recovery industry has still not caught up to the science. So they are still relying on some of the religious leftovers from the 12-step groups. So we're not doing the whole expose yourself, talk to everybody about this behavior, tell your wife about it, connect with people more and you'll feel better. No. It is about precision and it is about structure and systems. For instance, to be specific, redesigning your environment, learning how to interrupt your triggers, replacing specific stimuli with other stimuli, accountability that exists in absolute privacy. The only type of accountability that can exist for a high-level operator is one where everybody is at risk of the same thing, where the risk is equal. A CEO or a group of CEOs, business owners with business, where everybody has something to lose. And when everybody opens their mouth and talks, you're like, oh yeah, we all got shit to lose here. And even then, there is no public record of this conversation. Everything is private. Even the person that you talk to on the phone when you're being onboarded into our company is a successful individual themselves. So within 30 to 60 days of having this sort of structure in place for a high-level operator, and the pattern is just consistent across the board, the intensity of your urges drop immediately. And guys start saying, this is crazy. I don't understand how you guys do it. I've been through so many programs. I've worked with different people. I just have never had the urges drop. I don't feel like I'm doing anything different. I'm like, you're not doing anything different. It is just the architecture of what we're doing is that you've been put into, the building you've been put into is completely different. We don't have mold. The air is cleaner here. The food is healthier, right? If us use those examples, everything we do is completely different. The mental energy that is spent managing your behavior becomes available for work. Your emotional steadiness increases. And the relief that behavior, let's talk about this. Your behavior obviously was providing you relief from something. Well, the relief that behavior was providing, it starts becoming available through healthier things. And you're able to start doing those healthier things and getting relief from them that is on par with the relief you got from using pornography and masturbating, not because of willpower, because we have changed what your brain needs. Your neurological need has been changed. We are actually, during your onboarding, when you're entering the program, you don't know we're doing this, but we are already rewiring your brain. So in summary, you don't need a fucking public narrative. You don't need to by public, I mean, it's kind of private. You don't need to start telling your wife, like talking to a whole bunch of people. You don't need to like break down your identity by force because a group forces you to do it. You don't need to label yourself. We are rewiring your brain. We're doing so discreetly. The structure of your life, first of all, that is where your habits lie, is going to be changed discreetly. Then your lifestyle will change on its own discreetly. And finally, your identity, for a high operator, your identity doesn't need to change. You already have the right identity. It just needs to be realigned. Now, for a lot of other men, it needs to be rebuilt. In my case, I had to rebuild my identity, but I didn't have any success in my life. But if you are already successful and you are ready to go to the next level, we simply need to realign it and close that gap. So, brother, if protecting your reputation is something that matters, then the path of the rebooter is a path that was built for you. It is discreet, it is structured, and if you prefer to speak to me directly, then there is a link in the description below this podcast to do so. I'm JK, your brother in this struggle. Thank you so much for listening to this episode of the Porn Reboot podcast. I'll speak to you later on in the week. If you found this episode helpful, here are 4 ways I can help you with your out-of-control sexual behavior for free. The first way is to grab a free copy of my book, Confessions of a Porn Addict, 7 Secrets of Porn-Free Men at elevatedrecovery.org, or visit the link in the description below this episode. The second way is, if you're not sure where to start, but you'd like to learn more about my team and I, if you'd like to spend time with like-minded professionals and business owners who are controlling their behavior, then join our free and confidential group, the Porn Reboot group on Facebook. There's a link to join in the description below this episode. The third way is if you need help right now because you have a burning issue, your behavior with pornography is hurting you mentally or emotionally, you're about to lose your relationship, you want to live up to your potential, be an authentic man, and free yourself from shame, guilt, and underachieving, then click on the link in the description below this episode that says free coaching call. And the fourth way is to leave us a 5-star review if you enjoy this podcast, so that we can reach more men who are struggling in silence and bring back the lessons we learn from coaching them to freedom.